You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Sometimes we need to slow down and remember the simple pleasures in life. Good coffee, good books, and good company. Come on in. Take a seat. The coffee's just been brewed. Let's see who we have in the coffee shop today.
As I look around the coffee shop, Josh Baldwin, how you doing today?
Hey Jesse, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great. A little birdie told me you've got a book called Becoming You and I coming out. Now, is that true?
That is very true. It's coming out June 27th.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't wait.
Thank you. I'm so excited for it. Like, really nervous, but really excited.
So is this your debut book?
It is, yes.
Oh, wow. What a big deal.
I know.
Now, I took a trip over to your blog, and you started your own publishing company.
I have Noctis Books, so that's launching this year. It's actually launching with my debut book, because I'm treating my own book as a trial run for the business. So, and that's, again, even more nerve-wracking.
What kind of books is Noctis Books going to be looking for?
Well, Noctis is Latin for of the night. So the idea is to publish those books that really keep you hooked, that just keeps you turning the pages until the early hours. At the moment, we're just going to be publishing young adult and middle grade books because they're the books I read the most and enjoy the most, and that's the focus I want to take with it.
Well, I've actually been doing a little, I'm not a writer, but I am a beta reader, and I do have many friends in the writing community. And I've actually been hearing that your big publishers will survive, but your small publishers are going to go away unless they're very much niche publishers. So this may be the way to go.
I think so, and I really hope so. And I've always been really interested in business, and I'm currently studying English at university, but there have been several occasions where I've considered stopping and switching to doing business. So it's something I really do feel very passionate about, and it's something I've wanted to do for quite a long time. So I'm excited, and I'm definitely in it for the long term. So we'll see where it goes. I'm excited.
A debut book and a brand new company. Wow.
Yeah.
This must have taken you a long time to get all these puzzle pieces together.
It really has. I think with the business, it's something I've really wanted to do for quite a long time, a number of years, and it was towards the end. It was towards about the middle of last year I decided to really look into doing it seriously and getting the business plan and putting it into action. And then the book, I've actually been working on the book for 3 years. So it's bittersweet seeing it being released because I really enjoyed writing that book.
Well, you won't have to write it anymore. You're now going to have it shared with the world to read.
I know. So it's exciting to see it go on to its next stage.
So, is there another book you're working on too, or?
Yep, I'm currently working on my second YA novel, which again is another contemporary. And then in a notebook by hand, I'm writing a book 2 to my debut. It's like a sequel, but the first book can easily stand alone. But it was like running a race and then not being able to stop as soon as you hit the finish line. My mind just kept on going, and I'm a writer that needs to have a project on the side just for me. And this book, Becoming You and I, has been that book for me for 3 years. So I just couldn't stop. So yeah, I'm currently switching between those two projects at the moment.
You sound like every writer I know. They've always got at least 1 to 2 projects going, darling. So I guess you're in good company. Because over half the people I interview say, well, I've got this project going and that project going on the side. And I always switch around find something to write on. So, all right. You also have a blog.
I do, yes. joshbaldwin.org.
.org.
Yeah, .org.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. I think I started that blog last year, and with the domain names, that one was free. Not free as in available. I had to pay for it.
Of course. Well, that's cool. In fact, I'm working with someone else who's got a book coming out in August called Hidden Traps, and it's about building an online writer's platform, but it's about the different security pitfalls and things like that, of that nature, that you could run into, and sometimes connecting social media in certain ways will look like you can't write a full sentence, and as a writer, that's a bad thing.
Yes, I'm always really conscious of that, because I have Twitter, for example, and I only have the one Twitter. I don't have a professional Twitter and a personal Twitter, and it's difficult to get the balance right, because I want to have fun and I want to just be myself on it, but at the same time, I'm also very conscious that people will be looking at the Twitter, and ultimately, a book, when it's published, is a product, and so you need to make yourself look appealing for people to invest the money in you, essentially, as well. So, yeah, I think that's an interesting topic.
Well, like I said, you just sound like every other writer I know, because the person that wrote Hidden Traps, her name's Dr. Judy L. Moore. She's also got at least 3 other manuscripts that I know in the works, and about 4 more in the plan stage.
Yeah, I think a lot of writers do naturally have a lot of different projects on the go. For me, I always have to have the main project, and I treat that as work. So every single day, pretty much, I will sit down and I will make sure I work on it, and I treat that as my job with writing professionally. But then I always have to have that other book on the side that is just for pure joy and just for me, and treat that like the hobby. And I think it's important when you're trying to write professionally to have that divide between the two.
So have the hobby books ever turned into books that you actually publish, or you would think about publishing, or?
Becoming You and I was my hobby book.
So I'll take that as a yes. Wow.
Yes.
So
so over the last 3 years, I did work on other things along the way. And Becoming You and I was that book that I just kept returning back to it, and I wrote it all, and then I would delete half of it and go in a different direction, and I just really, really enjoyed writing on it. And when I finished it, and I decided that this was the time I wanted to start publishing and start getting serious about writing, and it just felt natural that book just had to be the book for me to start with.
So about your writing process, do you sit down and plot out or outline your works first, or do you just kind of let the characters take you on an adventure?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Interestingly, it's usually titles that come to me first, which is interesting because a lot of writers struggle to find titles. But I find titles come to me first, and then from that I have a small idea. But I'm more connect the dots at first, so I just have a handful of points, and I know a few things I want to write along the way. But I'm definitely, the more I write, the more the story becomes clear to me. So, for example, the book I'm working on now, my second contemporary, I just had about a paragraph jotted down for that book, and I started writing, not knowing where I was going. And now I'm about a third of the way through, about 40,000 words into it, and I now have every single chapter plotted.
Okay, so you start off with a small idea, and then you plot kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I can't plot before I write. Not physically. I mean, I have ideas now for books that I won't write for a long, long time. But definitely when it comes down to putting pen to paper, I can't plot everything by hand physically right away. I just find it too boring. I personally love to just get started with the project. And I feel it's a little bit, to me, how can I plan something when I don't really know it yet? When I start writing, that's when I find out what type of a book it is and what type of feelings I'm going to be dealing with and just the general feel of the book, and then that helps me develop the story.
That's great. And there's an old saying, no surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader, no joy in the writer, no joy in the reader. So I think definitely. You're in good company there, Josh.
Yeah, definitely. I always describe it as, if I was to plot from the start, writing a book to me would feel like painting a fence. the fence is already built and you're just going filling in the blanks, each panel. And to me, I find that boring. I'm exactly as you said with this about surprises. For me, the joy in writing is not knowing what's going to happen next.
Well, like I said, I think you're in very good company because some of my favorite authors, and I'm talking New York Times bestselling famous authors, use a very similar strategy.
Yeah, well, it would be nice if the strategy is as successful for me as for them. But no, in all seriousness, it's just the way I write, and I don't think it will change.
It seems to be a very popular thing among writers to, they know that the character has to get from point A to point B. Now, how they get from point A to point B is a complete mystery even to the writer until they sit down and write between the point A and point B. So I think it does keep books interesting and fresh.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Becoming You and I is very, very character driven. I mean, the book is all about the characters. To me, it is anyway. It's all about the characters. And how can you plan? It's like trying to plan to go out with people when you haven't met them yet. With some people, you can sit and you can discuss about, some really serious issues that's going on in the world. And then some people you can just sit around and watch a movie with and things are really casual. So to me, it's difficult to plan what you're going to do with them people before you really know them. And I think with me writing characters, I very much take the same approach.
Cool. Now, do you ever sit down and interview your characters to figure out what their favorite flavor of ice cream is or what their hobbies are? Or do you let them tell you as you're writing?
I let them tell me as I'm writing because I'm a big believer in just kind of getting on with the work. And I think sitting and doing the character interviews, for me, I find that a waste of time. I'd rather get to know my characters deeper and with their story than, to me, little trivial bits of information.
Now, I assume you at least know the age of your character, the gender, and maybe a couple little things about them before you start writing them.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I knew from the start the characters in Becoming You and I, they were both 17, they were both leaving school. I knew that Clara Ashwood, the main female protagonist of the novel, that she was always going to be loving wearing dresses, and she likes playing with her hair and she likes being out there. And I knew that Jamie Watkins, the male protagonist, that he's a bit like me. He likes wearing black skinny jeans. He likes doing his hair. So I knew those type of things. But as for what their favourite flavour of ice cream, and I don't bother doing that at the start. But obviously, as I write, I get to know that. There's a small cafe in Becoming You and I called the Crumbly Cookie, and Jamie and Clara often go to that. And so it's through the story I learn where they like going and what they like to drink in and what they like to do.
How did you come up with the name for the cafe?
I just wanted something a little bit different, but at the same time I wanted something a little bit cliche, because Becoming You and I, it's not the most groundbreaking novel. I wrote this, it was my hobby book for 3 years, so whilst I worked hard at it, I wanted it to be a little bit fun. So I just like the idea of having a name like the Crumbly Cookie.
It does sound cute. Sounds like a perfect place for an episode of Jessie's Coffee Shop.
Yeah, definitely. So let's pretend we're in the Crumbly Cookie now.
That works for me. That definitely works for me. So, all right. So when did you decide in this process of working on your hobby book that you were actually going to create a publishing company and put it out there for the world? There had to be a point. It wasn't yesterday. No,
it wasn't yesterday. It was about a year ago. It was about a year ago, and I'd been writing a lot of different things for a very long time. And then I went off to do my first year of university, and I kind of just took a year out and carried on working on this hobby book with no pressures. I kind of, for ages, I put a lot of pressure on myself to have a book out or be published by a certain age. And for a year, I just said, no, you're not doing that. So I went off to my first year of university. I moved to Brighton. I worked on my hobby book. And then last summer, before I started my second year of university, I thought, where do I want to be this time next year? And I knew I would really love to have a book out. And I was working on my hobby book, and I thought to myself, this is what I want to do as my first book. And at the same time, with the business, I said I'd love to start running up the business so that when I finish university, it's hopefully underway. So the two ideas just naturally came together, which was an amazing way to work.
Now, do you have anybody else that's writing a book that you might publish?
There's a few people that I've spoken to that I've got my eye on. I've read extracts of their writing, and I'd love to pursue their books and kickstart their careers. But we'll see. I'm not saying anything about it too much now.
Oh, no, but there's a couple other potentials out there. We'll just leave it at that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a long-term thing. It's not a business that by the end of the year I'm going to have, like 2 books out and next year 4 contracts underway. So I'm very much about the long term and growing it slowly and just really getting a feel for it. And obviously I am still at university, and that is a priority, and my own writing. So all in good time.
I think that sounds like you're getting a great start. You said you said you were studying English at university?
Yes, I'm studying English literature and education studies.
So you have plans of becoming an English teacher?
Yeah, so pretty much being an English teacher and writing books is all I've wanted to do since about the age of 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so to be honest, sitting here now at university with less than a year to go until I can start teacher training, whilst talking about my debut book, it feels pretty surreal. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Are you happy?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Then I'd say you're on the right track. Because how many people can actually say they like going to work?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's always been really important to me. And my family have always been a very big supporter in that find something to do that you don't dread Monday mornings, or if you go away on a holiday that you don't dread returning to. And that's definitely something I've carried with me and really focused on.
Well, I love sitting down behind the microphone, and I come back 5-6 days a week. So,
yeah, I think, and it shows as well. It shows in the work, and I think it's a great way to be. And I think if you can find what you're good at and what you enjoy, when you follow that, that's the most important thing.
Well, I think that is truly wonderful advice. Now, what was your biggest challenge or stumbling block? There had to have been something that just didn't quite go as smoothly as you would have wanted.
For me, it was the personal dynamics of these characters when writing this book. I really wanted the book to be. Like I said, I wanted the book to be character driven. I wrote this book. I started this book in 2014, and at that point, I was still living at home. And I'm gay, but I wasn't out as gay at the time. And I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I was nervous about university. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't really know specifically what route I wanted to take. And so in this book, I it was my hobby book. So they're the elements that I explore in the book. So Jamie, he's a gay male within the book. The two, Jamie and Clara, they're leaving school. They're unsure of where they want to go with their futures. They know they have a dream to become fashion designers, but everyone around them tells it's not practical, and they're in a dilemma with this. And with this book, I really wanted to look at those kind of issues and really investigate being that age and what it means to be that age. And when I was writing the book, I did put some other issues within the book. And then as I was writing, I knew, no, this book isn't to explore loads of different issues. This book is about these two characters specifically and what they want to achieve. And I'm not looking at society, and I'm not looking at different beliefs. I'm looking at it on a personal level. And that was the most difficult thing about writing the book. I had to keep rewriting and trying to get deeper into these characters' minds.
Well, from what you've told me, it sounds like you succeeded. I mean, so, would this be a spoiler to ask, but how, or not, but tell me. Mm-hmm. So, when you say they're leaving school, it's the equivalent of what, high school in the United States?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're getting ready to go on to university?
Yeah, so the book is set in England, but yeah, it would work the same as in America. So when we meet the characters, they're in the very last week of school, and during that summer, they should be moving out of home and going to live alone, and ideally following what is seen in the UK as the traditional route. So you leave school, you move home, you become independent, you go to university, where you know your specific subject that you're supposed to study to get you into the career you want. And there's an immense pressure in England to do that and to know that. And these characters, they don't want to do that. They don't want to follow that traditional route. They want to do what they want to do. And it's a very difficult age for people to take you seriously to do that.
I could see that could be a struggle, because I know a lot of younger people who want to do something, but nobody really wants to listen to them. So I think that sounds like a fascinating book. I can't wait to read it. So at the end of the book, let's say the beginning of the book, they're just deciding what they're going to do. At the end of the book, is it over a couple of months? Is it the summer, or is it a full year?
It's a full year. So the book starts in June, and it goes from June to Christmas, and then towards the end of the book we do skip forward by about 6 months. So we see them through a whole year, and the book is about them defying what is supposed to be traditional. So they do give up university, they do move away from home, but it's not to pursue university, it's to be creative and to set up their own company, designing and selling clothes.
Wow, that's a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, but no, their families aren't supportive of this, which makes it interesting.
Oh, that sounds like a fascinating plot twist.
Yeah, it was interesting to write. It was really, and especially I wrote, like I said, I started this book a year before I went to university, and I finished it 2 years into university after I'd already moved home myself. So it was interesting to write it before going through that time, and then after going through that time.
So you've got some actual real world experience. So you said you went to university and then you moved home? I
left home to go to live in Brighton for a year, and then I moved back home for a few months, and then I moved to Manchester, where I'm carrying on my degree.
Okay, so you changed universities.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I get the picture. All right, so what else should people know about this book?
What I want them, what I would want a reader to take from the book is that don't let people tell you that just because something is creative, that it's not worth pursuing. And I obviously think you've got to have a bit of logic in this. And some people might disagree, and it's an interesting topic. Because, for example, my writing is a really good one. I'd love to be a full-time writer, but as we know, it's not the most practical of careers. The money changes every year. It's really difficult to get started. So I could have come to university and done a creative writing degree, but would I have struggled at the end of a degree kind of job? Possibly. Whereas if I come to university and learn how to be a teacher, I mean, I've already got job offers now to go into teaching, and I'm a year away from finishing my degree. So it's a stable path to take. And I think a lot of people who want to pursue something creative are told, don't do that, do this instead.
Okay, I could see that, because trust me, when I told someone I was going to get involved in online radio, they told me I was flat out crazy.
Yeah, whereas if you told them I'm off to work in a shop, or I'm off to, whatever traditional job, you wouldn't have been told that. And I think that's sad, and I think it's something that needs to be embraced. So these two characters, to me, are embracing it, and it's not easy for them. Obviously, they have challenges, but it was interesting to explore those challenges.
I know all about exploring challenges. I mean, good grief. In fact, here's something, and this is a little audio clip from someone who I met through social media. In fact, I met him kind of how I met you, through Twitter.
Yeah.
And he was a retired NYPD sergeant, as in a New York Police Department police officer sergeant. And he was a sergeant on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And here's what he had to say, and I love this audio clip.
For any anyone going through any type of personal battle, whether it's cancer, PTSD, depression, a personal challenge that they want to do. They want to go climb Mount Everest. You need to stay in the fight. And when I say that, I mean mentally. If you're not mentally in the fight, if you don't stay in the fight, you can't win.
And I just love those words of wisdom from, his name was Sergeant Terry O'Hara.
I think they're very wise words, and I think he's completely right. I think you have got to stay in the fight, and if you believe something, and you believe you can achieve something, then stay with it. I've been told in the past, you won't finish a book, or why are you releasing a book? And a lot of people that I know haven't always. I mean, I've been laughed at, and I remember towards finishing school when you would go around the class and be asked what you want to do when you're older, and when you say I want to be an author, it wasn't always embraced. Not everyone thought that was a clever idea.
Totally get it. Trust me. But I think combining author with English teacher, I think that's a smart move because it gives you a stable day job, but it ties into writing so well, especially with your chosen audience.
Yeah, it really does. And this is what I always say, that you've got to, don't give up on what you want to do. But at the same time, you have got to be realistic. And I'm not telling anybody, by saying be realistic, I'm not telling anybody to give anything up. But also, if your parents say to you, I mean, my one's always really supportive on my writing. They've never told me not to write. But I have always, at the same time, been told, don't get distracted by writing all the time. You need to finish your university degree. And I think that's wise, because you need to be realistic, and you need something to fall back on, or not even to fall back on. You just need something else as well. I think, I always think it would have been really easy for me to say, I'm going to stay at home for a year and just earn a bit of money on the side and try to write full time. And I don't think it always works that way. You have got to be realistic. And I think it's a mature decision to be realistic. And it doesn't make you a failure to be realistic either. So at the moment, I am openly admit it, I'm at university, and yeah, I do write books. And I'd love for my books financially to, be a success, so I can devote more time to it. But I also work as a waiter. So, on weekends or on some evenings, I work at a hotel, I work in a restaurant, and I'm serving people their food and sitting people down at tables, because it's just, you've got to be realistic sometimes.
I think it's fantastic. Besides, you never know what characters you might pick up from waiting on them in a restaurant. You might find your next character there.
Definitely. And when you look at a lot of even famous writers, a lot of them have worked at other jobs. Not all, J.K. Rowling, she didn't leave school and then just write Harry Potter. She did other things, and until she was financially able to support herself from writing, and and that's across every category. If you look at Sarah Dessen, she writes adult books, and she's openly spoken that she was a waitress until her fourth book. And I think there's a lot of pressure for writers. I remember when I first announced that I was publishing a book, I was really hesitant to admit that I did anything else on the side. But I think when you embrace it and you discuss it, it's one of the best things you can do.
Well, personally, I wear any number of hats. So, hey, somebody will say, well, what do you do? Which title do you want? Military spouse, online radio show host, crazy lady, or ... I just start listing some of them, and it's like, it's one of those things you just have to, that's how I handle it, because I'm kind of like you in a way, Josh. I don't want to be boxed into one little corner, and that's all I can ever do. Yeah,
I'm the same. And if I am openly honest. I'd love the idea of teaching, but ultimately writing is my true passion. And if I could write full time for the rest of my life, that would be amazing. At the same time, teaching, I would be perfectly happy splitting my time between writing and teaching.
Besides, as a teacher, you can always threaten the kids that your students, that if they don't behave, they'll end up in your next book.
Yeah, that is very true.
Hey, what can I say? There's a silver lining to everything, isn't there? No shortage of characters. Write the students that drive you crazy right into the book.
Yeah, so for sure. And I think that's what it's all about as well. I think it's important to get out there and experience real life and the real world. And that's where you can discover how you feel about things and your views on things and hear what other people think. And that helps with your writing. So I think doing other professions or the jobs on the side, that can be more beneficial to your writing than you think. Maybe in time it takes something away, but in experience, I think it adds value.
I think that is an outstanding revelation. All right, so you mentioned you're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell people what your Twitter handle is?
It's at JoshB_XX.
Oh, cool. And the XXs are for what, hugs and kisses?
Yeah, it's meant to be for kisses. But now and again, people do make a little joke about it. But yeah, it's meant to be for like little kisses. Josh B just wasn't available. Josh B_ wasn't. So I just needed to find something to go with Josh B.
Well, that makes sense to me. So, and what's your blog site URL again?
JoshBaldwin.org.
JoshBaldwin.org. And is there any other form of social media you want people to know about?
I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/JoshBVlogs. I don't use it very much now, but there's a lot of videos on there that people can enjoy and get to know me a little bit better through.
Well, that's cool. So, well, I thank you for sitting down with me today. And for all of our listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And you can email me at the station at jessie@klrnradio.com. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners before we make our way on out of the coffee shop, Josh?
Just if you are passionate about something, don't let people talk you out of it. And just enjoy what you do because you don't know where it can take you.
I think that is great advice. And I can't wait till the next time I find myself in the Crumbling Cookie or some other coffee shop with a writer.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm going to pour myself another cup of coffee. And I am going to snuggle up with a book, and I will talk to you folks next time.